that is scheduled for the Planning Commission and LV Collective to go through updates and plans. A work session is a period of time, and I'd like to read from the ordinance, is the primary purpose of a briefing or work session shall be to present in-depth information and to provide an opportunity for Planning Commission to raise questions for the purpose of making more informed decisions on complex issues that would take undue time from a regular meeting. Based on the procedures that we have, a work session and this workshop will go into a lot of questions that Planning Commission has asked, that staff has asked, that the public asked at the informal public session. And so I just want to remind everybody in this workshop, this discussion will be going back and forth. It will be just for Planning Commission members to do. There's no public session part of this, and there's no votes or any action that can be taken at this meeting. Separate minutes based on our bylaws will be taken, and this will be addressed at the next Planning Commission meeting. With that, I would just like to remind everybody, if you need hearing devices, please see Kelly up here. Not Kelly, Rebecca. I'm in trouble. See Rebecca. Kelly's on vacation. Rebecca's agreed to fill in, and we appreciate that. And so then we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. So if y'all would like to update us, I know there were a lot of different questions that y'all had taken notes on and things like that. And so most of this, again, is digital, and we appreciate you being here to present to us. And I know there are tons of questions.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Understanding is that the plans and remedies here in front of you have been shared with everyone. We have here a quick presentation that has not been shared that addresses a lot of those questions and concerns. Wanted to start with that, and then we can dive into the plans and any specific questions that you all have. So, as you mentioned, there were multiple questions and concerns brought up during the first two Planning Commission meetings. So here you will see some responses and ways to address those. An updated timeline on where we are today in red on the third Planning Commission and what our goals are here to go into a Planning Commission recommendation in August, and then finally into council reading, final reading in October. So we have digested all the comments, letters shared, all of our notes, and have listed all out from most talked about to least talked about items throughout all those documents. And we'll address each one of these here coming up in the next slides. So the number one conversation has been around building height and density. For this, we started comparing what a as-of-right or by-right project would look like here versus what we are proposing currently. As you can see here, on the left would be a version of a by-right development that could result in roughly over 225,000 square feet of gross floor area. On the right is what we're showing. It's a very similar square footage, total square footage. It's just a least dense or a smaller footprint, which results in a slightly taller building. Additionally, to get this, to get the 150 parking spaces proposed, the public parking spaces proposed, this is adding an additional 60,000 square feet of area that we have to fit somewhere. So the short story here is the same amount of area in a smaller footprint is resulting in this taller building. You can see to the right all these buffers and the stream preservation, the green spaces are resulting in what we have in front of you here. Additionally, this has been shared previously. You know, we are proposing these added buffers, right, over 90 feet from property lines and nearest home to the top, to the east side of the project, over 100 feet to the nearest home across rigs. This all comes from those back buffers and added setbacks that we're talking about. From a density metric perspective, we compared the proposed project with some of the projects currently under construction, MODA and Hub, showing that this project falls right in line with those from a bed per acre metric, from a unit per acre metric. At the bottom, we're seeing also a rendering or a 3D view of how the project fits into its context of College Avenue, right? And how it really follows the topography and the built environment already there, with UCETA to the right and MODA to the left under construction right now. Some small renderings or collages of what the building would look like in place. These are street views. To the right, view from Riggs, on the left, a view from the Bixby looking south. One of the top things talked about was also neighborhood character preservation for the residential neighborhood in the back. So for this, we are proposing to remove the current street parking on Riggs to maintain a more residential feel and residential street feeling. Continue that pedestrian sidewalk, and also proposing to build a gateway monument sign for the neighborhood right in that corner highlighted there. So as you go into Strode's, turn into Riggs, you would see a monument sign that really celebrates the neighborhood and really calls attention that this is a residential neighborhood as you walk in or drive into Riggs. Some concerns about buffering from the R20 parcels in the back and the use of a residential lot as part of this PD. We do want to highlight that the majority of that parcel 104 Riggs in the back is really being used for these buffers. So we're doing heavy planting there, pulling the building back to allow for these increased, very deep setbacks. Again, 93 feet to the closest home, roughly 90 feet to the very corner of the property line there as well. So those are very, very deep setbacks and stepbacks. Another item brought up was stormwater and environmental protection concerns. Our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Hodges, have brought this some flooding concerns. Here are some facts or some statements that were shared from staff on improvements that have already been done in the area to address these floodings that have occurred in the past. To our knowledge, to understanding, these have addressed those, and no flooding has occurred after those improvements. So the city has already invested a total of $444,000 to address this issue. From an environmental standpoint as well, this project has had a long and intense due diligence phase, starting from January to up to now, where we'll be looking at the streams, understanding what it takes, hiring the best experts in town and in the area, which is Kimley Horn, to really guide us through this process. It's a heavily regulated process with the Army Corps of Engineers to do any work with these streams. It takes multiple permits, multiple months for each one of those permits. And any specific questions on those you can address to Alex Hensley here with Kimley Horn here with us today. But just want to assure you that this is very regulated, and as you can see by the pictures, the conditions on site today are not necessarily the best, and this relocation in some cases will make this even better. Traffic was also brought up multiple times. We have made a lot of design decisions by this diagram you can see all traffic coming in and out to the building would be from College. So Riggs Drive on the back will remain a residential street. All access will from public parking, residential parking, services, would be from college. So that is the design decision we've made along the way to protect that neighborhood. Additionally, there is the opportunity in this monument sign to add, if possible, a resident-only phrase to address some of the people that are driving through the neighborhood, that are cutting through the neighborhood, from what we heard in the neighborhood meeting. Rooftop noise and sightlines was also some items that came up. From a noise perspective, we are proposing a sound barrier here. Well, first, the rooftop amenity and pool are to the very front of the building, so they're near the College Avenue. Additionally, we're proposing a sound buffer wall against the neighborhood which reflects any sounds. So sound would move up and back out into College Avenue, reflecting noise and really dispersing and minimizing any kind of noise going into the neighborhood. From a sightline perspective standpoint, I know this was a concern from some neighbors. We have gone out and geolocated some drones and at certain heights and where these key plans on the top are, looking at where these views from the top floor and each level are looking out to. So these views here represent the top level, so it would be the worst case of views into the neighborhood. As you can see, the majority of what we're seeing is street canopies. The only two houses that are visible is really just the front of the house. You're not seeing into anyone's backyard. You're not seeing any of the more private type of those homes. It's only these two homes that you see, and the rest is really tree canopies, and we're it's protecting and covering all those sightlines from the neighborhood. Pedestrian safety came up as well. Just want to assure that this project would have the required public sidewalks along on all sides, connecting to Riggs and College Avenue. The College Avenue would be built to the new city standards, and this would all be seamless with any new project that comes along. Additionally, along College, the retail spaces are proposing this outdoor dining and spaces that are going to activate the street as projects keep coming up as well. From a parking perspective, there's some concerns about the parking ratio, which is being proposed at 0.5 per bed. We wanted to here show a map, putting our project in relation to the center of campus, in relation to all of the commuter lots in campus. So you can see that it's about the same distance walk from our project to the center of campus than any of the commuter lots. So any resident living in this project would not drive, right? They would walk into campus or take any other means of transportation, like a bike or a scooter or anything like that, but not drive. This removes a large number of daily trips on the streets, people that would otherwise be living in projects further out of downtown and then driving into town. On parking as well, so as mentioned previously, 150 public parking spaces are being provided and proposed in this project. The bottom 3 levels being the public parking, the top 4 levels being resident-only parking. This equates to at least $2.7 million in cost on our end. This is very conceptual pricing. This does vary and change. It could easily go up as we get more information and evolve the process. We talked about this last time, but the public public portion of the garage does have a very easy connection to the street with a public breezeway, so any person parking in the public section of the garage would just park and walk out to those sidewalks very easily without having to traverse too many floors. And then commercial space had been brought up as concerns about the depth of the commercial space. I know specifically, as proposed, the commercial space is proposed at a 42 feet depth interior space plus an additional 10 feet of outdoor space that we believe is key to really activate the streetscape. Here are some visuals of what that could start to feel like at the top, and at the bottom, a very conceptual level of how that could be laid out. In conversations with our real estate brokers, what really makes these spaces successful is the infrastructure that is provided. So we typically provide infrastructure for hooks, for grease interceptors, for restrooms, make it very easy for any retailer to come into the space. It doesn't have to be like a large institutional retailer. So any like local, make it easy for local retailers to come into the space. Here an example of a project that we're currently under construction in Columbus, Ohio. The retail depth on this one is exactly 42 feet as well. And you can see that an F&B restaurant can be laid out in a space like this very efficiently. This here is a 4,000 square foot bar with a 1,000 square foot pizza concept attached to it, adjacent to it. Yeah, that was the last one. So with that, I think we've addressed hopefully all of the concerns and comments that came up. And we invite open up to any questions and discuss any of the plans here.
There were a couple of questions that I had heard last time. People wanted to know the retail hours operations of the current coffee shop that y'all are having there as part of the retail. That was one of the questions that night.
Correct. So the typical hours of operation would it would follow obviously any city requirements, but typically it would go from 7 or 8 in the morning to 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Our daydreamers coffee is usually open.
Okay. Let's see. So, and you can answer this now or at the end, one question that was asked by Dr. McGuire was, give us 3 things that this would bring to the city, to Clemson, in terms of value proposition.
Yeah, so the biggest one that we see is the 150 public parking spaces for downtown, which is our understanding, I guess, of the city is in need of for the downtown area. That is one of the big ones, the biggest one here. Second, as mentioned earlier before, was the stream preservation. So this project's taking a lot of care, you've seen by the renderings, to really preserve and celebrate that the streams that are there, or one of the streams that's there, and has really laid out the project around this. And lastly, really, is bringing a project of high quality to Clemson. Quality of LB, you've seen the projects, and seeing the design here. We believe it's a benefit here for the town as well, for the city.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm sure I'll have other questions. I've just been going through, checking through the list that I have made as well to ensure that we did our due diligence, and I appreciate y'all doing that very much. So we can move to the next section of the meeting. Commissioners, any questions about those concerns or different ones that you had heard?
Just random questions we can ask.
Yeah, this time. This is,
So
ask them all.
The parking for the city, the 150 spaces, how's that monitored, or does the city, do we charge the public for those like we are other public parking, or how does that work? Do we take it, it's ours?
Yeah, we would monitor it just like we did Keith Street deck or the Finley Street deck. Finley Street's deck's actually probably a better example because that's in a student housing development currently.
But it would be like an hourly?
It'd be like the kiosks that you see downtown now that we've rolled out recently in the Keith Street deck. We would pay that. I currently have 2 parking attendants that monitor spaces. I would expect that they would do that here as well. We know that in time we'll have to hire a 3rd as College Avenue continues to go that way with the hub. But that's the plan. How many are in the Finley Street deck? No.
We have 40 in the first floor of the Finley Street deck that we enforce.
Yeah.
No, we're in charge of maintaining.
And we have about 148 surface parking spaces downtown currently.
But it's not just open to anybody just to go in there and park their car and stay overnight?
No, we don't allow them overnight parking at all. We will, we are quickly ticket and tow.
Yeah, just the 100,
Yeah.
the ones that
Yeah.
would be ours.
And we actually just in front of council last night did a expanded active surface street parking across town, so.
So 148 plus the 40.
And then we have 250 in Key Street Garage.
Okay.
Just to clarify on your 150 public, because last time here, I think that included, the 150 total number included the on-street plus like 134. So the ones that we're getting rid of on rigs, are you making up for in the deck?
That's right, yes.
Okay,
So
right, okay.
that still includes the 6 that are left on the Strohs, and the rest are making up in the deck.
Okay, just one, okay.
And how did we get the 150 number? Like, what versus 100 or 125 or 200? How did we
Yeah.
pick 150?
So very early on, in conversations with staff, this was brought up as one of the key things to look at, right? And a number of 250 was thrown out, and we looked into it. That meant for us, what that meant financially for us, would be a 14-story tower, which, in conversation with staff, felt like that would not be appropriate. So what would be appropriate is what we were tasked with, and this is what we're coming back with. What 150 spaces is what the project can financially withstand, with a project that is still in context from a height perspective, from our standards.
So if it was 50 spaces, would the project get smaller?
Sorry.
You said if it would be 14 stories if it was 250. So I'm saying if we said it's 50 spaces, would your project get smaller?
It potentially gets smaller.
How much smaller?
We didn't look at that, because we're trying to get as much as possible, but
I mean, if you took it down a couple stories, I mean, I can't imagine people are gonna park there and walk downtown ever. So it just seems like it's wasted space. Just curious what that would look like, because I know the first question on there was, or most asked was about like density and height and so forth, and had y'all run any numbers on what a smaller, where does the pain start when you start dropping stories on this, like on your money side?
we haven't done that analysis coming down, because our goal was to maximize public parking spaces.
Oh, I mean, I just meant just in general.
Yeah.
Whether it's parking or not. If you take off a story, can you still make this work?
Not with that same amount of parking spaces, at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I would be interested to know if we need 150 or 125, how that would affect.
How many days a year are we full? Are we actually full downtown? 14, 20? What's the actual, I work downtown, I've never not been able to find a parking space, ever. So, what is the when is, I understand football weekends, that's Fridays are definitely rough because of parents, and you have graduation. Maybe if, you know, so I mean, my guess is there's 20, 21 days a year that it's just really, really hard to find a parking space. You know, you're circling a little bit more, but what is, you know, how many days a year do we have that push? And then you're adding more spaces down the road,
But
so.
we're losing spaces with
Yeah,
the,
I'll try to address it as best I can real quick. I don't know the answer to how many days we are full. I think the question of what do we need would be highly dependent on who you asked. I think downtown business owners and visitors to downtown businesses would tell you we don't have enough. I think the churches would probably, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I would think they would probably fall in line and say we don't have enough also. We do have, but I think the catalyst for the thought of the need for parking is we have a downtown corridor plan that was approved in 2017. That basically streetscapes all of downtown to it, which will be required in front of this development should it proceed forward. The best example I can give you right now is the Bixby. It's a much wider sidewalk, much further setback. Removing pavers like you see throughout downtown, maybe doing some bands, things like that, with tree grades, planters, much more modern approach. The thought process there is that in doing that, you will remove some on-street parking, so you have to recover that elsewhere. We've done our best. We just opened some on Sloan Street and some pockets here and there. But we've never seen a development at this level, and so I think that offered this level of parking, I guess is where I'm going with that. So that, but the catalyst for the need for parking is then you can implement the streetscape afterwards if you could recruit the parking elsewhere. So when he says early on, staff suggested a number of 250, that's where that came from. It's like we're like, hey, we throw out as much parking as humanly possible so we can implement that plan, and then allow them to come back and tell us what's not financially or even structurally feasible.
so do we know how much parking we have to have? I mean, is the 150 the number, or, my concern is going to be Riggs Drive and what the back side. The front side, I'm actually not concerned about, so I'm concerned about the back side, so I just didn't know.
Can you put it back to the elevation? That looks at the R20, not the conceptual one, I guess.
These renderings?
There's a section cut. No, not one of these.
Yeah, I got it.
That kind of shows the distances and the setbacks and stuff, I think,
Yeah.
when it all comes down to
That's
it.
what?
Are those, is those, I can't see that far. Does that say residences?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
it's
residential. This is Riggs. Yep.
And so the top one is
The top one is,
across the street from Riggs,
Correct.
kind of on, not the corner, but up one block from Mr. and Mrs. Hodges.
correct.
And then the bottom one is,
Coming up straight into Riggs, into the
Into Urban.
Dixon house.
and that's showing, that's 7 stories, right? We're shown
Correct.
from grade.
Do we know how much parking will be, after, if the streetscape plan is fully implemented, how much parking that'll take away from current?
Got any idea? Yeah, we would have to grab the plan. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I just didn't know if it's,
I can get you that answer. Yeah.
okay, I didn't know if it was like ballparking, like, oh, this would be a way to wipe out that debt or put us a little bit ahead, or
This would put us a little bit ahead.
a little bit ahead, so offset plus,
Yeah, we lose pretty much everything from P Street down.
right.
So that is, I think, in the neighborhood of 60 spaces. But, so we're down 6 spaces, or say it's out there. And we have a total, and then, but going up the other way, we don't lose anywhere near as much. And adding a bunch of parking on us, we'd lose another maybe 15 spaces or so probably around 75 total.
Okay, because I knew we were losing some, up at the very end by the light, we're losing that parking. I just didn't know, so right now it'd be about recoup plus 75?
Yep.
Rough, I won't hold you to that.
Yeah, that's a rough estimate.
Okay.
And, you know, as we're anticipating growth of the rest of downtown,
Right,
you know.
right. Because for every bit, was it the current code, if it was the code, it's 1,000 square feet for general downtown retail is a spot per 1,000 square feet? Or is it 300, no, 300 square feet?
Yeah, it depends on what uses and what it's.
Okay. And then another concern, I mean, and I know that the plan was adopted in 2017, and I don't know that if it's been looked at for this or not, but I mentioned it to Herb that one of the other projects that talked about a lay-down lane or something for ride shares and drop-offs with pickups. And I just know that we have dismount zones and everything for coming through downtown, and what the plan is for that, for like, you know, I know you guys are gonna have pullouts for, you know, the retail delivery that's gonna be there for a couple hours or whatever, but to avoid Uber and Lyft just stopping at the curb in a lane of traffic for people to hop in and out, if there's been a plan to address that, or?
In some of our previous projects, in the garage, sometimes we'll allow those spaces for easy in and out. It really depends a lot on operations at that point. If whatever we can work on the streetscape side of things, if we can have a pull-out bay there, like a drop in, drop out, would be ideal, but we haven't gotten to that level of detail. But yeah, that would be a goal.
Okay, because I mean, I know it's against the law or whatever for people to stop in the middle of traffic, but it does happen in town, and it'd be nice to have, if there's a convenient spot for people to pull off and everything, that would, I think, really help, because there's been quite a few times where, I mean, personally, I've gotten, not necessarily stuck, but somebody will just stop in the middle of the 4-lane road to pick somebody up, and it's just like, you know, and down there you're gonna have the kids on bikes and scooters and all that stuff, because they can't be on the sidewalk, they're gonna be in traffic, so if a car just pulls up and stops and they're not paying attention, it could be a bad deal.
Can you go back to that first slide that had the buy right? So just to make sure for clarification, it's buy right's 3 stories, parking space for every bed.
Correct.
How many beds could you put in the buy right?
We didn't get to a bed count because I would have to kind of lay it out, but this is a
Yeah.
gross floor area perspective is what we're comparing, this is the footprint. This would assume parking under all of it. So from a gross floor area perspective, the by right is added up to 225,000 square feet versus the 250 that we're proposing. So they're very, very comparable. So the bed count should be similar. Okay.
With no public benefit,
Correct.
But it's only 36 feet tall? Isn't that right?
3 stories.
It's not 3 stories.
3 stories.
Oh, the red line.
Okay, 3 stories at 36. Can't read it, I can't remember exactly, but 3 stories.
You probably just pointed out that under current code, you can actually pay and reduce down to 50% parking.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Under current code, you can pay into a fund and reduce down to 50% parking.
Parking reduction program, you can basically buy out where we don't have to build.
Half to beds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I can still do that,
Yeah,
still
you can
have
still
half
do
the
that,
beds
whatever the
with
required
no
space.
public parking.
With no public parking.
Yeah.
I have a question about, just on the way here, I dealt with this with the current building. What, you know, say this proceeds, how do you handle the traffic? I know we've talked about the entrance to rigs and all that, but how do you handle the staging for the actual building of the project?
The construction.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna mean some methods with the GC. We really hired top of the line GCs and this would be requirements from the city would be addressed and maintained.
We would require it to be contained on site. The little bit difference with Moda and how they've done is they purchased the house it's next door to them where everyone's parking. So that sort of a loophole around that because they purchased the property, but it would be required to retain on site.
So back to the by right, have you guys, y'all haven't run the numbers on by right if it'll work, correct?
From a gross flow.
No, like financially. Like, are you guys willing to do it by right?
I mean, it's not our preference.
Right, so there's a chance that if we say no, you're not gonna do it by right, because it's not a money, you guys can't financially make it work, probably. The 150 spaces are a throw-in, but you need the whole thing to make the money work, probably. That's my guess. Okay.
They can't put in their coffee shop, right? You know,
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
They can't build it, they can't afford it, so it's a, right.
I have a question about the coffee shop, the square footage of the coffee shop.
Yeah, let's go with that.
The bond in the amount equal to 150% of the estimated cost for bonding out the vacant commercial space, you already have a tenant going in, the coffee shop is a tenant going in that spot. So, my concern is going to be bonding out the rest of the space versus the space that we already know is going to be filled. And it mentioned in here it was prorated, so it's like, is it going to be prorated with the area once the coffee shop is filled, or is that space also part of do you understand my question? So if it's, how many square footage is the coffee shop?
It's 23 or 2,400 square feet.
Okay.
The remainder, I believe, is 60.
The coffee shop's not included in the bond.
No.
Yes.
4,400.
No,
it's built out.
It's built out.
Have to bond it because it's built.
It's built out.
Oh, okay, that was my
Bond would only
question.
be for the vacant space, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, that was my question.
So the bond just is there in case it doesn't get
Anything else.
Yeah, it's
built
the
out.
help
in the
fund.
future, in a couple of years, if it's not built out.
Yeah,
then
we call the
city-
bond later if something's not in there, but if they're opening with coffee shop, that part would not be bonded.
Okay, gotcha.
I think you said 4,400 roughly available to lease is what you're saying? Okay.
And that's a warm shell? I saw that written somewhere.
Is that what our ordinance
Yeah, it
says?
said warm shell.
In this ordinance, they do say warm shell.
Yes.
So keep going. You didn't talk too much about the townhouse scenario. Is that still is that still happening?
Yes, it
Is it
is.
still part of the overall plan, or is it a maybe, see how it works type scenario?
No, it's still part of the overall plan. That parcel unfortunately is very narrow, so there's not a lot of options there. So we focus a lot on the main building, given the height and the density on it, right? The more complex one, but the townhomes, as described last time, it's really a two-story apartment over a single-story apartment. So it's a townhome look, so it's a three-story. They all feel like a townhome look, really just to address the street and make it feel more residential, right, and less commercial. That's why we call them townhomes.
What was the two-story part? How many bedrooms is it?
A two-story, three-bedroom, or a one-story, one-bedroom.
And you changed the entry-exit process out of those from some previous stuff to just be off of Strode now?
Correct. I was concerned about access from Knox on the back, and concerns about access on College. So we felt this addressed that appropriately.
We believe the DOT owns that part of College Avenue. They would not allow
Hard to
a
get that.
curb cut right there, that close to the street.
So with it dumping on Strode, or do we have a capability to direct traffic out of there?
Yes, we can work job it or one way. Yep.
And it's 44 parking spaces on that side, so it's not a ton of cars.
It won't matter, I mean, if it was just two, it wouldn't matter. We gotta make sure that if it's dumping into the neighborhood, we need to figure out what that is.
And you, what did you say, Nathan, about one way?
We
What
could
was,
create where you can't make the left turn come out, made that the parking lot. Design it in such a way.
Well, what if we just made that a parking lot and got rid of the townhouses? Does the townhouse drive this project?
Like, you take your one.
The big part is the height in the back up to
That's
the
right.
R20.
Yeah.
We're dancing around it, but that's
that's the issue.
That's the concerns of the majority of the people, either
Number
in
one.
here or in the neighborhood. So you have 7 stories exposed on the backside. 90+ feet, yes, but still, it's right next to the house and it's 7 stories. So how do we address that? So far, it's not addressed. You got 7 stories. Can you get it to 5, eliminate parking in the garage, make all that parking, get rid of the townhouses? I mean, I don't know. That's the big concern.
Put a parking deck there, put
Can
two-story
you put,
parking deck.
yeah, parking deck there?
Even if it's just 2, and then,
Yeah, we would have to look at it. I mean, if we're starting to lose density on the backside, we would need to figure out a way to actually gain some of the density on the townhome side as opposed to just take them out entirely and do parking
But you
lot.
could lose you'd lose parking, you'd lose part of the parking deck that you could convert. I mean, I don't know, I haven't looked at the design that close on the inside, but you could gain livable space inside of the big project if you got rid of the townhomes.
heck, if you get rid of the 4,400 square feet that no one's ever gonna lease. You know, give that back to them, and then drop it down, too. Keep the cafe.
I mean, I'm not totally against the commercial space. Charlie is, he hates it.
I mean, you got plenty of empty across the street. People are going out of business on the daily, so.
But we're hoping the bond will take care of some of that. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's a futuristic type thing, but we're hoping the bond will just say, make the developers provide a space that is
Yeah.
leasable. I mean, currently, some of these spaces are not leasable.
That's true.
Right, and we do make a lot of effort to make it leasable. And financially, we want to fill that space out, right, as well. So, and from some of those renderings, we want that activity in the building as well. You've seen this in other projects. So we would make every effort possible to make it as easy as possible for anyone to come into the space.
Well, the warm shell helps.
And to be clear, our bond just went through, our bonding ordinance just went through, so the things across the street you see vacant,
Right.
Grand Mart vacancies, none of those have had those requirements in the
I
past.
knew that, yeah.
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 So they won't have, I guess the better way to say that is this development will not have the option.
Tall in the front, smaller on the back.
Yeah.
What if, would it work if you went a little bit taller on College Avenue and shortened the back?
From a building perspective, we're override construction type. I think we're maxed out on height on construction type. We would have to look into metal gauge.
That comes in.
That doesn't look like. That's a big, thick book.
I know we've gone to it a couple of times, but, because I don't think we have that slide with the buy right. Can I just see that again real quick? What do we do?
My writing's up that stream though.
Yeah, okay.
Just that open space.
So in that picture, I mean, there's less of a buffer. I mean, it appears to be significantly less, right?
Correct, the building's taken up to the setback line, so up to 10 feet all around. And the sections below kind of show that, the red being the by right, the blue being the proposed. Some of those sections really show a stark difference, right? While it's higher, it's pretty further back.
What if we went taller?
So the horseshoe part of what I'm looking at of the blue building is what we're mainly seeing from Riggs, right? That's gonna be the eyesore for us on Riggs. So is there a way for that to have a lower height? And that's my question. Because what's happening, the perspective view from Riggs Drive, that's not really somebody on Riggs Drive at street level looking, because this has this perspective from the corner of Strode Circle and College Avenue. It's just a different perspective. You know, the building feels much taller on that. But this picture rendering is kind of like you're floating in air looking at it, but we're going to be on the ground or driving by.
And it's kind of a hole there.
Huh?
It's sort of a hole, you know? Unfortunately, it sort of dips down, so you're kind of, it's making it even feel taller. If that,
But what if you did away with the courtyard completely? I mean, that's.
They got to
it's
have
sit-
windows.
It's sitting in a hole 9 stories below.
Yeah, the courtyard
It's not gonna get any sun. I see some trees down there, but it'll get sun for about 2 or 3 hours a day. And you've already got a pool deck, a roof amenity, and then an amenity in the leasing office. Came down 5 and did away with that open space. I don't know how the engineering will work there to get the same number of beds that you needed.
Apartments have
Yeah, it comes
windows,
out to
right?
density and bed count, which we would have to study.
Have we thought about, I like the idea of from a streetscape and look part of having something kind of like the townhouse section there, but have you looked at doing something to increase the density there so that we could drop the height of the main building? So in other words, instead of having that parking out back and this and that, you build out the majority of that and get some of your room count back there. And then we can drop a floor or two, even if it's a step down where you drop half of the back of the building or something and still keep your height at the front. You know, you don't have to lose the whole floors. But if that, I don't know how many you can get in there to replace what you're losing, or how many, you know, oh, it's 100 per level across the back or whatever you're looking at. I don't know the math on it, but if that would be a way to recover some of it. And then just have that parking be, you know, that resident parking be part of the deck. And I know it's inconvenient or whatever, but maybe that's the ones where the kids that don't have cars, they say, hey, we'll put you over here, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's across, you have the view of the creek and everything like that.
Yeah, we have not, honestly, we have not looked into that. It does become a little bit more inefficient when you do 2 small buildings. Well,
Right, yeah.
But we can definitely look into it.
I think that would, I don't want to speak for people, but I would think that would probably be an easier thing to swallow from the neighborhood perspective, instead of having the one giant thing there, having it a little bit smaller, and then the little 3-story building, even if it went to 4 and it was just 4 rows of apartments with ground level apartments like you're talking about now, like that, you know, that might be easier, and you don't have the turning in and out for parking there. It could just be that, and you could even throw a commercial spot right on the front facing College Avenue, just to get a little more retail, get a little more bed density, and bring that height down. Like I said, even if it's just that back horseshoe section and you still keep the main front at the full height, that might be a way to bring that down.
Yeah, if the parking, the 150 number of parking is not as strong of a concern, there may be some room to that by relocating some of that parking, like you're saying, into the deck, right? It just eats into the public parking.
Because you said how many spots were in the townhouses?
Right now, we have 44, I believe. Right.
How many beds would be in the townhouses?
Let me look that up.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Trade, like,
I don't know, somewhere.
roughly around 50. I don't know
50
the
beds,
exact number.
44 spaces.
Around 50.
Okay.
44 spaces.
That's the thing, is if they could expand that, they could change that from single bedrooms and floors on
is
the
that a
bottom. if
garage
they
parking under the
incorporate
townhouse?
a lot of
It's surface parking.
It's just those 20, it's just 22 spaces, right?
But under the
There's also
townhouse?
parking under the townhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, there is,
There's a
okay,
rule
okay.
there, but it's,
Oh, underneath, yeah, okay.
You got like a garage underneath the townhome?
it's like a carport kind of parking.
Yeah,
It's
It's
open.
like courts used to do.
And then these,
It's like the ones on North Clemson, back behind the Lutheran Church. That's what it's like.
So those are already at 4 stories then, just with the ground level being parking underneath? Okay.
There are 3 stories including the parking.
Correct, yeah, got it. So that's why if you went to another one.
Oh, I thought you said the top floor was I thought you said it was one story, 1 bedroom, and then 2 story.
Correct.
3 bedroom.
It is, but there's a
The
garage
parking
under
is
it.
part of it.
Right, no, I thought he was saying the apartments on top were 2 stories.
Got it.
So for a total, like living and then bedrooms on top.
Yeah, we need a elevation on that.
Right. But yes, if you recaptured that parking.
So can you clarify that? The townhome is a 2-story townhome or a 3-story townhome?
I thought it was 3 stories total plus the parking, and what he's saying, that's what it's, parking, 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, right? 3 stories total height?
3-story total height, yeah. Parking, the 1 bedroom's in front of the parking.
Oh, 1 bedroom front, okay, see, that's right, all right, so it's not underneath, okay. That's, okay, that's where I was getting lost.
It still works better.
Yeah.
Do you guys have
So
any
you could
illustrations?
double the size of that condo.
Double.
Floor plans have,
Yeah, or if you use all that,
shared,
there's a parking, you could do 4, you could do 2 sets of
Townhomes?
yeah.
These,
The one with the shaded roof, with the architect.
Or how about any illustrations?
That's because it says townhomes over
We don't have those at the moment.
That would be beneficial to kind of get a visual on that.
We have to follow up on
if he doesn't have them, he must not be sold on the townhouses.
Just put something there because I got the plan.
That you could put parking there.
Do you have any conceptual layouts of the rooms? I know it's sort of a weird question, but some of these are 6-bedroom?
You have 5 and 6 bedrooms.
Yeah, up to 6 beds.
But I think the gist of it is they're all around 350.
So if you put bunk beds in all of those structures?
No,
What's the-
because in the ordinance.
I was
it
looking
outlines
at some of y'all's other,
that's
projects online.
It's not, there's only
or-
allowed to be double occupancy.
I guess it would be kind of the same, because some of them appeared like the 4 bedrooms, about 1,100 square foot total.
Yep.
Is that standard for,
That is standard. I mean, it does change from market to market, and we do market analysis and gonna try to stay within ranges of where the market sits to not be very different, but, we don't have like standard plans that we repeat everywhere. We tailor them to the market.
and most of them online I found, I guess Atlanta was probably the closest to be able to, for our geographic locations, about 1,500 a bed, what the rental rates are.
I don't have that information on my head.
That's what I guess.
Yeah.
It's about 1 million.
That would be low for downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Bed, 1,500 a bed.
Yeah, it'll also be within market range. I mean,
Okay.
It's just going
The one I can think of off the top of my head, Jacob can correct me here, it's about 1,750 and then an additional 75 for a parking space.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
And that's this year's.
Yes.
Yeah. In a couple of years, that'll be even more.
this coming year.
Yeah, they're good, they're going.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
they're
I
going-
feel like we can get our
going up every
parking
year.
places and a little less density.
Well, and that's
on
one of the
rigs.
things, like, just the trade is how much of that do we need versus how much can we give, because it's gonna be tough, like, finding another spot to add parking in the future is gonna be
Right.
tough, and we really need to consider that, but at the same time, if we can chop some height off the back of this building, I think that's great.
From a parking perspective, if you ask city staff, we're gonna tell you, we would like to maximize as much public parking as possible. What you
So-
do with
But it
the
doesn't all
building
have to
is-
come in this building. I mean, like, the
Right.
Pepino's old building is gonna they're gonna be here one day. And, you know, they've been shopping that thing for, you know, and you could put tons of parking under it, and it's right downtown. You know, there's gonna be other opportunities that are gonna show up that are gonna be closer to downtown with possible parking spots to feed into. You know, I just think the problem, you know, when you have the parade, people don't park at the bottom of the hill then, because they don't wanna walk up that hill. You know, it's like, and that's with all the kids in town walking down the hill. I don't, you know, I'm struggling to see who's parking there and walking uphill to whatever. Now, maybe they might park there to use, the cafe or go across the street to look at the empty retail, but I don't know that they would, you know, I'm just having a real hard time seeing those spaces, other than a handful of days of the year, that it's gonna be moms and dads are in town, things like that, that it's gonna be slammed, and I totally see that, but.
But the park eventually, hopefully, would be
And if
finished.
we're doing a downtown corridor plan, removing the on-street parking, I guess is where I'm going.
And that's, it's also kind of in the middle of, you gotta remember, Moda's gonna be built out with commercial, the hub's gonna have commercial, eventually the rest of Uptown's gonna get finished, and this is kind of right in the middle. And I'm not saying that to sway one way or the other, just to visually look at it from a future perspective versus a right now perspective of that. While that parking, you're right, it's all downhill from downtown. Well, I guess it's downhill from uptown too. It's kind of at the bottom of the hole.
It's in a hole,
It's
yeah.
it's downhill from both of them, but it is kind of in the middle of where everything, the future plan for everything is gonna be.
And, I mean, as far as the Pepino site, you can't do structured parking on that site, it's too small. The guys announced it
Well,
can't be done. And
they've shot
what
some
his-
pretty cool ideas, so, or plans.
His plan for it is a food hall with no parking
Okay.
currently, but.
I'm just using that as an example. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
there's
pro-
multiple
the problem is
churches
there really
downtown.
is
that
very
offer it.
little
Yeah,
to be developed downtown, truthfully.
that's sort of, yeah, there's places that could be if it's sold right, and there's plenty of people shopping and buying, so I'm not, you know, future is, we'll see, but, you know, they put one parcel to another and so forth.
Yeah, if they got
Just
the
like
entry
this,
meter behind
yeah,
it, then
right.
now you're talking.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, and there are plans that have been passed around already that you see, you know, in the business, so whatever, but, that's just a maybe. I'm just, like I said, my struggle is do we need 150 spots in a hole? No, that's all. And if we could get the density down, because I think that, you know, you're blocking out the sun right now, so.
Well, so do we need all the retail space?
That's it.
I mean, I think we need parking.
It's not.
I think we need the parking.
I think in order for
I
it to
mean-
be a PD, you have to have the retail space, because it's gotta be a
Yeah, you have
mixed
to have
use.
some of it, right? Is there a maximum or minimum?
Yeah, it's kind of our call.
Yeah.
I think the other part to consider as well is, you know, the question is if the city plan is Clemson next, and this is uptown versus downtown, is the overall implementation and the timeframe within that implementation as these go. I mean, I think the rough guess is if the city were to go out and to buy land, if we could find it, a rough guess to engineer, to grade, to tear down, to find any parking, there's $11 million. Is that reasonable, conservative?
It's probably
You
low.
said 11?
I'd say conservatively, we would factor at 30,000 a space.
Yeah, it's
Where I would be, so that's about, so 30 times 1.5 is
that's not even the land.
4.5 without land downtown. So downtown land, let's say 2 million, so that's a 6.5 plus mobilization and construction.
You need the parking.
I mean, we'd be at I can make a case we'd be at 7 or 8 real quick on a 150 space.
So
We have more buffer between the residences. on
Yeah,
the
that's the
drive.
issue. So surely we can figure this out.
Is the step, because I'm gonna go, we do not have a current development this far away from like, we don't have a current, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, we don't have anything 100, let's say 100 feet from the next door structure, 90 feet.
No, I mean, this is, well, can you go through the setbacks and kind of go over exactly how big they are in different areas? Can you?
I think that's where I'm confused, is it the step down or is it the distance? Because we currently don't have a building that this overall height.
It's
the height.
But everyone was
relative to
very,
the neighbor.
just because it's been done before, we were very unhappy with what was done. So we're just trying to remedy that.
Do you have anything that's this tall next to a house?
Correct, yeah.
Because I mean, I think a lot of stuff got done to us and we weren't really.
My right's like a perfect size.
Well, it's just right on the line.
I mean,
I mean,
I'm saying height-wise, sorry. Yeah.
by right
But
is
the-
not a
the
good
appearance
looking.
No, I'm just saying, just for height.
That's what I'm trying to figure, if we can put some of that density on that townhouse lot, I think that kind of, so like, I don't even know, I mean, if you guys need those 44 resident spots from a business perspective, I mean, I think, I won't want to speak to people, but I would be okay if that ratio went to less than 0.5 spots per resident or whatever, if that got the height down. So if you basically just replaced that parking with bedrooms, and
That
then,
definitely helps, right, because you're building less parking for.
yeah, you'd have less, so it's not like moving it, it's just less parking. Because like you said, I mean, it's downtown, you've got amenities. If we have that pull-out and everything for kids to get to the grocery store when they need ride share to get picked up, like, I think that solves a lot, because I think most of the, like you're saying, most of the people who live downtown are gonna walk to class, they're not gonna drive.
So you're saying eliminate most of the parking at the townhouses?
Eliminate all the parking at townhouses, and just make
And
that
just make it-
all apartments. And maybe do,
The
maybe
garage
do it.
under.
Huh?
Do the garage under.
Don't do it, no garage, do ground level, and you could even, you could
Take
do
those
a
44
retail on the
spots.
front if you wanted, on College Avenue, do one retail spot on the front if you wanted, and you could do ground level walkout apartments. I don't know what the market is for that, if it's serviceable or not, but if it was, that gets you, like, turn that one, take that pull-in parking, and that becomes part of that, now you've got a 2 or 3 bedroom, and the same with the other ones, you're eating up the rest of that parking spot and putting rooms there, and that might get you enough to get a floor or two off, even if it's, like I said, just the back of the building.
Then we'll need some type of crosswalk to go to the parking garage because those
There's
people.
one right there at stoplight.
Yeah, there's just crosswalk right over. Yeah,
There's
there's-
a crosswalk across the road.
There's already one there.
To get them to the parking garage, that's,
Well, I was assuming that those would be the kids that didn't bring cars. If you wanted to be, because if we're doing half parking anyway, half of the kids aren't gonna have cars, so you say, all right, you don't want a spot, we're gonna put you over here in this building.
They would have to go to the street anyway because of the stream, right? They won't be able to cross from mid.
Yeah, unless they did like a major breezeway all the way across everything, they'd have to hit the street.
A rope swing.
Yeah, because with that parking there for the townhomes, I can guarantee you that on the weekends, there'll be people parking in the pharmacy, and those vehicles will 100% be towed. If they're there for longer than 30 minutes, they will be towed.
Oh, yeah.
And that will be a headache for you guys.
and at least likely for those people to be turning into neighborhoods, whether it says no left turn or not, you know.
Right, that gets rid of anybody involved with the
Yeah.
project going up that road. All the traffic comes off College then. There's nothing involved with this project that goes on the Strode.
So you mentioned the parking ratio lower than 0.5. I'd like to understand if that's a shared understanding or shared thought from anyone, and if there's a minimum.
You're talking about less than 0.5 for your residents.
Correct.
we would like our parking spots for the city if that's possible, but.
Right, I was talking about just trading the resident parking.
Yeah.
So if you guys think it'll fly and you can lease with less resident parking, same amount of city parking, and just can basically convert that allotted area from parking to beds, like, if that shakes out and you can move them off the back of the building to over there, I think that's what he's getting at, if everybody's okay if that falls to 0.4, 0.45, whatever it brings it down to.
Especially if you could bring it down, bring the building height down.
Yeah, that's what we care about, what's.
Well, if we're asking them to give that much, would we be willing to give them 50 spaces or 25? Make it 120, you know, like, so, you know what I'm saying?
I think
We're gonna wait.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, would we, yeah, I mean, I think that,
No.
okay.
When you guys
Because
break
we
down,
want
I won't go
parking.
forward with that.
2 stories, 1 story, what are we talking?
I think that's what we need clarity on for them, is like, are we talking just in the back, are we talking all across, how many stories,
I
just
think
so
if
we.
you can get it to 5 stories.
5
it's in the
stories, yeah.
back,
Yeah.
You can get it both.
to where it's not, I know it's 93 feet at that closest point from the corner of the house. It's like 30 feet from the property line, the closest point further up in that area. It's still right on top of them.
I mean, it offers, you're right, it offers great setbacks, it's the furthest setback ever, but it's also one of the tallest projects.
Yeah, no,
I mean, so like it's, and I get that's, like, 10 feet for 10 feet, like we've talked about in the past or whatever, and it's almost there, but it's just, it's a feel, You walk up next to a building and it's just kind of how it just looms.
And it also has another large facility right behind it that sits on a hill behind it too. It's not a good corner, I mean, it's just where they are, but still. I think everybody would be really mad at us if we didn't ask to see if we could get that to 5 stories.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying.
And if we can make the townhouses a little bigger, don't call them townhouses anymore, call them apartments.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
just call them
Yeah.
apartments.
And make that, catch some of those rooms, make that work. We
Potentially
still
have
want the
them
150
match that.
spaces.
Potentially have them match the step down in the, I'm thinking urban design standpoint.
Yeah, it's gonna look like the other building in the front, and is that what
Like,
you're
you
talking
talking
about?
about like match Moto or match?
Or if you're going for a 5-story step down in the back here, have those match that step down, or I mean, I'm just,
Oh, I see, so on the townhouse section, have it taller on the front.
I don't know, I want them to have like clear directions leaving here is what I'm saying.
I don't think you can go that tall in the townhouses,
Well, he's not calling them townhouses
or
anymore.
whatever.
At this point, it'd be an apartment building.
Apartments, yeah.
Section.
Can you go to that section where the the townhouses are relative to the neighbors?
The small section.
Yeah, right there's good. So we're talking about potentially making those 2 stories taller.
Correct.
Well, it's not so much
And-
making them that much taller, it's so getting rid of the parking. So you would be adding,
2 stories still on top. We're talking about adding 2
You probably
stories.
have to add 2 stories on
2
top.
stories on top and fill in the parking.
And you're also talking about taking it up lot to lot.
Yeah, we talking
Lot
about no
line to
buffer.
lot line is what you're talking about. So you're talking about covering the entire lot, 100%, 0 lot line.
I think you have to maintain the consistency of the
do that.
setbacks in the back of Moda
Love
here.
setbacks,
yeah.
Yeah, at least at the back side of the property where you're kind of like looking out at Al Hodge's house, I don't think it should
Yeah,
be
but
5
that's the
stories right out his
current
back door.
Right.
Step down that
So,
portion.
setbacks in the back would match that. That's where you guys are headed. I think you have to have some consistency from a design standpoint, and if we ever did anything with long knocks as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so 3 stories along Knox, and then at the front of College Ave, it could be 5 stories if that works for them. Is that my notes I'm taking down?
Seems like maybe.
I mean, that seems reasonable to me. I don't know how anybody
Yes,
else feels.
yes.
Yeah.
So would it make any difference? Because right now, the entrance and the exit of the parking garage is off of College, okay? Would it make any difference if they worked with Youth Center to use that curb cut and access their garage from the left on the side? So you work with them, the curb cart's already there. You don't have to have another one, and maybe you pick up some more space on the front and go from the side. Trash is all the way at the end of that alley. So maybe that's where you pick up more space as well.
Yeah, the only concern that comes to mind is that drive right now is built up several feet into a very tall retaining
Yeah,
wall.
you'd have pretty sharp down into the bottom part of the.
Because you're probably gonna put a retaining wall there or something, right?
There is a retaining
Yeah,
wall
yeah.
there right now.
Yeah.
That's right, there is,
From the
yeah.
back, it gets very, very tall. So we would have to look at it from a structural and engineering standpoint, how to bridge that gap and how to make that happen if it's even possible.
We would, from a staff perspective, we would take any reduced curb cuts that we could. So if it's something you could look at, that would be great.
But if it was possible, you can pick up more space as well,
Yeah, the ground floor.
right?
What was the townhome scenario? Was that a PD requirement? I mean, that kind of configuration, was that why that was put there?
No, they just picked up the
Bought
property.
the land, yeah, it looks like. It's
Yeah,
an
the land came all together as a whole, and it's very narrow, and we're trying to keep it cost effective there. That's why we're the proposal came out.
Okay, now I have another question, which is minor. For the pedestrian access, it says a pedestrian pathway is proposed along Strode Circle and Riggs Drive to connect the Riggs Drive sidewalk back to College Avenue, further enhancing connectivity within the area. So it doesn't say it's proposed. Who's proposing that? The city, or, I mean,
Is that the sidewalk?
yeah, it just says,
Yeah, there's probably quite a bit of edits that we'll wind up doing here, from the staff internally and then you guys as well. But yeah, that's a big one that,
because does that mean,
it will, my preference was it would read required.
okay. And then, this is another question that I had on, it's like right on page 2, when it says, the city of Clemson will ensure and hold harmless the developer or any future owner of the development from any liability. Is it insure as in we're gonna get insurance, or is it insure as in ENSURE? Because that's mentioned a couple of places, and if you ask ChatGPT, they say it's supposed to be ENSURE. And they're like, well, you've changed the meaning now, so I just wanna
I
know.
think they're trying to take the liability off of them for that particular section, is the way I read it.
Which is ENSURE? Or we are going,
That would be like
we are going to have insurance,
Yeah, our
Yeah, it's
city.
the public property, so they're saying they're maintaining the public property, but that we would be liable.
For anything that happens.
And I think one of the things that you would see with that is staff has not had a chance to go through their comments. I asked Jacob and Nathan, had they done that? So the written part of it has not been the main focus for here, and that's something I know that they have a lot of comments. I was asking them today, and we'll have the ability to send those in as well. So this was more about what we need here, thoughts on the design, those kind of things. This will work out. I think you can, if you look closer to Varsity 3, you can.
I think there's a ton of work to be done here from a staff perspective. We will absolutely evaluate with that. I had a similar public meeting last night on a different thing, and I laid out these options too, which I think is true for tonight. The options are either heck yes, Heck no, or is there a compromise somewhere in between for this? Not necessarily on the written portion, but on the design, and I think that's where we're at. No, I mean, I think those are your options to discuss with the developer.
Well, I would like our parking spaces, and I have concern about the height going into a neighborhood, so if we can reach a compromise, then I think the setbacks and all look better than by right, and I do think the city gets more out of the planned development, but I just have concern about the backside of the building.
I like some of the stuff you've addressed, the entrance in the neighborhood, having the signage, having something to set that off, the sidewalks tying in, you address the stormwater issues, traffic now coming out, different than we saw before. All those things I think are positive, but yeah, I'm in agreement that my really, I know that having the parking's important. I don't mind the retail space. I like that there's the outdoor dining area, street activation, as you say. But yeah, my biggest concern now is the same, and it's that back side, even though there's a buffer, and just that backside height is a lot for those residents.
Ms. Rice, any other comments?
I said enough.
Well, I thought she started, but you're welcome to go again.
No, I've said all that I need to say.
Commissioner Yoder? Commissioner Kerrigan?
Height.
Mr. Kroll?
No, I think, I think if they're gonna look at what we talked about, I think best thing to do is let them see what they can come up with. Because I think that's the biggest concern with everybody that we've heard is how imposing it's gonna be on the backside. I don't think anybody ever said anything about it being a problem on the front.
Okay. I think what we're hearing here is it needs to be, and I think we all need to think in these terms, is whenever projects are here, there's got to be a win-win-win for everybody. That's the best way. And I think the question posed to you is you're hearing the concern about the heightened view from the back is what you're hearing. So the ultimate question is still, is that going to be able to be doable? And I mean, that's the ultimate question. Is that feasible, able to be doable in that? And I think also here we have to be prepared for it's doable, but this isn't happening. So if you look at it and it's the courtyards and it's the streams and it's the public space and it's the retail and it's those things, this is the only way we can do it. I think we need to be prepared for whatever answer comes back, and what we're asking you to do is to look at, is that something that y'all feel that y'all can look at, or do you already know your answer?
No, we can definitely look into it.
Okay. And so with that being said, I would ask that you get with staff as soon as possible to do that. It may require another workshop to ask questions. We can do workshops with 2 days' notice, meaning if we can get everybody's schedules together, but by the way it has to be published and things like that, we have to give 48 hours to be able to do that. We're asking you guys to do a lot, and I understand that, and we want to be respectful of that. I think that's fair when you do look at that. I guess one clarification I would tell you is that every question that was asked to be asked, except pool access by the public, was a question that was asked by one individual, but I kind of answered it. You can tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I think it would be an insurance nightmare. And that's from being a business owner, but you need to, that was a question that I had written down, and I'm sure you remember that.
It was not addressed, but that's correct.
I think it would be also a public relations nightmare when the 4-year-old went to that pool too. So, the other part, I think, huh?
What are you saying?
I didn't say anything. I said it'd be a public relations nightmare. So I think there are two other things. One is addressing what the hours are of that space. That was the other question that I had written down from all the public comments. That's something for me that I'd like for you guys to look at and be prepared to answer, or do you know the answer to that?
We'll bring the answer to that one on the next.
Okay, because that was asked as well. The other question that has come up is about the building, the historic building next door. And I just casually mentioned to somebody, I don't know the whole history. It's about Savannah. It's been moved before, but if somebody wanted that, would y'all give it to them if they paid to have it moved?
The house?
Yeah.
Commerce now?
Yeah.
The White House?
No.
The commercial building,
Greenwood.
the commercial building where the townhouses are going.
Yeah.
It was relocated there
From
from somewhere else, and
somewhere.
it has historical significance, yeah.
Just the backside
Just
of
the
it.
backside. But if somebody wanted that and it was that important to them, would y'all give it to them if they moved it?
We would need to check our commitment with our seller first, but may be able to look into it.
Okay, I'm just having to ask all the questions that have been asked. I mean, that's what we told you.
Yeah, to
So,
rebuild that pedestrian.
we appreciate it. I know time is of the essence for you guys. This is the reason for the workshop. Thank you guys for taking your time and coming. Very grateful for that. And Nathan, Art, Jacob, and probably Nathan Hinkle and things like that. The sooner you can get with them, the better that it'll be, so we can move forward.
Thank you.
Does that work? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rebecca, for being here tonight with us.
Yes.
We've enjoyed it.
Thank you for saying that.